would the worm know if I banged somebody else? Or can I bang the worm? I think some people need like an initial attraction to get to know someone, and that's kind of unfortunate. I don't think I necessarily need that. I think that every time I talk to someone, I'm thinking, can I be like a literal raisin pissing and pooping myself in a diaper in the freaking nursing home and still find this person to be the hottest person on planet Earth? You know? Every time? Yes! If I ever find myself thinking about, oh, would I be a good match for this person? Which takes a very long time for me to even consider that. I want to think, if this person turned into a worm tomorrow, would I be happy? Oh, by the way, the worm question to me is like, I'd assume they could still communicate with me. Like, I'm hoping that when they say, like, would you love me if I was a worm? I hope they mean, like, a worm with massive intelligence, no? Like, a worm that could communicate, right? Or do they mean, like, an actual worm? Because I would still love them, but, like, that wouldn't quite be them, no? If we are defined by, like, who we are via our brain, then would it not, you know, like, worms do not have space for brain. That's like such a good point, but it's not like we're gonna turn into a worm anyways. But if we were going to turn into a worm, magically, could we not also magically have all of our personality and memories? No? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if they were to say, would you love me if I was a worm? Do they mean, would you love a worm in which my soul was trapped inside? Would I not just be mad at the worm for trapping your soul inside of it? I feel like I'd be furious at the worm. I hate the worm question because worms are some of the most disgusting creatures to me. So, like, no, I would never love anyone if they were a worm. But, like, worms aren't necessarily disgusting to me. It's just the idea that, like, that's not you anymore if it doesn't have your brain. If it doesn't have your personality, then it's not you, right? That's like asking, like, would you still love me if I was a murderer? And like, no, I wouldn't, because that wouldn't be you. And if you became a worm, then you wouldn't have their personality. Like, if the human brain, if the intricacies of the human brain could not fit into that of a worm, you know? Then it's not, then you could not love the worm. So they're trying to Theseus ship us? No, I just like, if they... Would you still love somebody if they got head trauma and their personality completely changed? I think that completely depends on what their personality was like. Do they like kidnap people now? I don't know if I could love someone who kidnaps people. You know what I mean? I'm not talking change to a criminal. Okay, well if they don't change to a criminal, I think I could probably still love them. They start playing League. Okay, that's a little bit of like... Those are some steep stakes there. We'll talk about that later. But I genuinely think that this has not been answered for me. Like a worm with their personality and their intellect, yes, I could love. I could definitely love somebody with the personality and intellect Because at the end of the day, we were always going to be like shriveled up worms, you know, like the freaking grandmother from SpongeBob, you know? We all get to that point one day. Naku, thank you so much for the raid. So I wouldn't stop loving them, definitely not. If they had the personality and intellect. If the question is, do you like me just for my physicality? I guess I could say no. No, I don't. Thank you so much, Naku. I appreciate the raid. Thank you so much. Did you have a good stream? We're talking about loving somebody if they were a worm. I asked, this is real. I'm just saying, dude! I could not... If somebody I knew actually turned into a worm, then that would not be them. And then we have to bring into the question of, like, are souls a transmutable factor? Like, could you put some... I mean, there's a lot of religions that talk about, like, you could put your soul in, like, a tree or a leaf, you know? But then you have to, like, do worms have souls? You know? Would you be the only worm with a soul? What is the difference between a worm with a soul and a worm without a soul? How could we tell? How could I even tell that that's you? You know? If there was a worm in the bed, you know, if you woke up next to your wife one day and there's a worm in the bed, would you just have to assume that that is you? How would you know that it's them if they don't have the personality and intellect to communicate that it's your wife? I just assumed she let me out. I just assumed like she was playing a practical joke and was like, I'm gonna leave you forever and I'm leaving a worm in the bed. Wiggle twice if you're still you. Exactly! But the thing is, she could only do that. She could only wiggle twice to let you know it's her if she had the personality and intellect of your wife! So I think that needs to be clarified when they are asking the question. And if they're a worm, can they even see or smell or hear? I mean, they lack all the things to do that. How smart could the average human feasibly be if their intelligence was put into the body of a worm? They can feel vibrations? Yes, they can feel vibrations, but they'd have to learn. It's like you're dating... Dude, you'd have to, like... Helen Keller the worm. You'd have to teach the worm how to talk and communicate. Okay? If they can't really, like, hear or speak, you'd have to teach the worm how to interpret the vibrations of your voice, but the worm doesn't have hands or legs. So, like, you have to be, I think, oh god, dude, being with a worm sets such high standards. You would theoretically have to engineer a way that the worm could communicate with you, knowing that it has human personality and intellect. And then you would have to, like, somehow teach the worm that they are communicating. If they were a tapeworm, that means they'll always be with you. Honestly, maybe I'd prefer that, because then I could just, like, die and get out of this scenario. If someone I loved became a worm, I'd keep them as a pet. The relationship would change, though. I don't think... Okay. Phoebe, if anybody asks you if you'd love them if they were a worm and you said I'd keep you as a pet, I don't think... I don't know if they like that. I don't know if they like that too much. Yeah, I wouldn't be in love with you, but I'd keep you as a pet, I guess. Someone said that to me, I'd be thrilled. But is it you? Or, the thing is, again, if it doesn't have human personality and intellect, then it wouldn't be you. That means you're just asking them if they want a pet worm. So you'd be thrilled that they'd want a pet worm. Like, that's it. Just ask them if they want a pet worm at that point. I hate this. Can the worm know if I cheated? You're already thinking about cheating on the worm? Irgia, your theoretical wife just turned into a worm and you're already thinking about baiting someone else? Oh my god, bro! Can we not? That's messed up! That took all of like 15 minutes, bro! What is wrong with you? I just... Baji, changing the question. If someone becomes debilitated and they have trouble talking to you and they're disabled, would you take... Okay, so you're changing the question from like, what if my spouse turned into a worm? To like, what if my spouse became brain damaged and was confined to a bed? That's not changing the question. That's like giving me trauma. Okay, but if that happened, yes. Yes, I would take care of them. Absolutely. Not a question. I would spend the rest of my life trying to fix them. I think so too. I would spend the rest of my life taking care of them and trying to make them as comfortable as possible. That is just... For me, that is what I would do. For the worm thing... If my partner got turned into a worm, I would try to figure out if they have human personality and intelligence first. Then I guess I'm the kind of person who'd want a pet worm anyways. So we're taking care of the worm. We're taking care of the worm. That's fine. Because if I can't determine that that's my wife, then it might not be my wife. I'll take care of the worm, but like I'd probably spend the rest of my life looking for my wife. That'd be so sad because I'd leave the worm at home in the compost, never knowing that it was actually the soul of my wife trapped inside the body of a worm, and I'd be traveling the world trying to find out what happened to my wife. This is why everybody needs security cameras, you know? We all need security cameras outside our door, just to see if our wife leaves us or actually turned into the worm. Counterpoint makes sweet, passionate love to said worm. I think that would kill the worm. I don't think you should even try. Don't. No. I think that would kill the worm. They have incredibly, like, permeable skin. Why would you say that? Okay, there's like 2 wrong answers, and somehow you guys managed to find them. I think the 2... If somebody asks you this question, don't immediately think about how you could bang the worm, okay? There's many other things that could be thought about. Somehow Ergie and Gerald immediately went to, would the worm know if I banged somebody else? Or, can I bang the worm? Like, just don't. No, neither of those. There's so many other things to consider. There's so many other things to consider than that. I didn't even mean that, Badgie. What do you mean? By cheating, do you mean like, just like... I feel like if you move on and date other people, unless you're like... Are you saying you're gonna give up? The average person, I would say, is usually somebody that wants to eventually have intimacy with their partner. Not everybody likes intimacy with their partner, but I know for like most people, they want intimacy with their partner. You know? So theoretically, if this person wanted intimacy with their partner, like by moving on, would you date other people? And then just not do that? Like, what do you mean by cheating on the worm? Because I feel like, well, yes, cheating on the worm would start with like pursuing other people, going on dates. But one day, if like you date somebody and you want to start a family, right? you would start a family. Unless you don't want to do that. I guess I never really considered if, like, you didn't want to do that. Theoretically, I guess you could start a family without being with somebody else. If you didn't want to cheat on the worm and you still wanted a family, and you, like, adopted kids, would you explain to the kids that that was their mom or dad? Or would you just, like, keep it like a secret? They'd never know. Adopts a kid. Get this worm as your mom. That's exactly what I was thinking of then! Don't bang the worm or start a family with your worm wife. The thing is, if I knew it was my wife, if I knew 100% that it was my wife, she just could not speak, see, hear, or smell anymore, I think that I would be emotionally inconsolable for a time, and then I would probably work tirelessly to find a way to let her communicate. If I did want children, I guess I would adopt them and explain to them the worm situation. But I also know how little kids are, and I fear that the adopted children would murder the wife. So maybe I wouldn't adopt children. Okay, if you take the average, like, 3-year-old and say, this worm is your mother, I don't think they would... I don't know if they'd understand. That's what I mean. They might kill the worm. They might kill the worm. Or teenagers. Yeah, or teenagers. You know, they get really mad, like, God, Mom, I hate that you're married to a worm. All the kids at school make fun of me because you're married to a worm. Which is, like, kind of valid. Kind of valid to, like, bring up, I guess. I mean, if you... I'm gonna be honest. If I go out with my best bud and he's like, yeah, my dad is married to a worm that he thinks is my mom, I'd be like, wow, bro's kind of insane. And he'd be like, no, you don't get it. Everyone makes fun of me. You know? Hard to believing you'd make it too far into the adoption process, married to a worm. That's fair. But would I adopt worms? Honor my wife's culture. Would it be rude of me to adopt only human children? If I adopted only human children, I might be disrespecting my wife. Because how could she mother a human child? Right? So would I have to sacrifice having human children and instead raise only worm children? Theoretically. And do they need to be biologically either of our kids? Would I have to get, like, a worm sperm for my life? Does she want to be a mother? I don't know. How could I honor a sperm donor? Shut up, Nato! Shut up! Dude, I never want to hear sperm donor again. Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. Worm pregnancy? No, the thing is, like, I don't know, man. How would you know if it was a worm kid? What if it was a hot worm and she cheated on me? Okay, so I think you deserve it, because 5 minutes ago you were asking about if you could cheat on the worm. So I think you deserve it if your worm wife cheats on you with another worm. I'm just saying, Ergia, you're the guy who was asking if you could cheat on her. I think if it happens to you, that's just equality. That's karma. cut her in half for 2 wives? Violet! Sad thing is, if they became a worm, they won't live long because worms can only live to 8 years. 8 years is still a long time. Eight years is a while. I think I'd be really heartbroken. Again, I think most of my life would become streaming and being dedicated to finding a solution to cure my worm life. No, but this is a super worm. Yes, okay. If we're talking about the magically human personality and intellect endowed worm, I feel like we would also get a human lifespan. Sounds like an anime title. Okay, if the worm was like that, the spider from that time I turned into a spider, then yes, I think I could have a happy, healthy, successful relationship. You know? Base anime reference, love it. I found that spider very cute, so I could see it. I could see it. But that spider was killing people? Yeah. But she was also really cute. And we love her. What about a slime? You guys already know my opinions on slime girls. Thank you. Anyways. I got reincarnated to be a worm and found out my husband got cheated on me, but I can't talk. ERG, why are you so obsessed with your wife turning into a worm and cheating on her? You are so obsessed with cheating on your worm wife. Dude, I'm so terrified that, like, your future girlfriend is... That's like the 3rd time you've mentioned cheating on this worm. Or her cheating on you. I'm incredibly concerned, buddy. If your worm life was cut in half, becoming 2 worm wives, and then was cured and became 2 human identical wives up until the point they split, would you stay married to both of them? That's so weird. No, that's so weird. That's so weird. Yes, but I don't think I could ever, like... Oh, God, that's so weird. That brings up so many more questions. No, I do not want to cheat on my worm life. What if your worm life doesn't realize they were married and then cheated on you? That's probably way more likely. It is way more likely that a worm that my wife turned into would cheat on me. Actually, guys, stay with me here. If my wife turned into a worm, I would put a really nice worm in the enclosure and see if she cheated on me. If she fricks that worm, I'm out! But if she doesn't get down and dirty with that worm, I'm staying loyal to her. Yeah, I'd test my worm life. I'd test my worm life. Is she loyal or is she not loyal? Okay? You're holding out the cheat test? There's probably no other way I could tell if she, like, has human intelligence or not. Because if I turned into a worm and I saw another worm, I'd be like, ew, that's disgusting. But if I turned into a worm and I no longer had any mental, like, acuity, then you know, worms will do what worms will do. Actually, now that I think about it, are worms even sexual? I'm pretty sure some of them reproduce asexually, right? Aren't they like, okay, some worms, okay, it depends on the worm. Some worms are asexual, but some are hermaphroditic sexual reproducers. That makes sense. Oh, guys, penis fencing! Dude. Wait, have you guys, oh, guys, flatworms. I haven't showed you penis fencing. Alright, education time, chat. This is important. For the good of all humanity. I'm here, don't worry. I know. Why did I show up so slowly? Here. Alright, let's watch this together. We'll watch a little bit of BBC and then we'll go back to what we were doing. Hold. Okay. Alright. Penis fencing.
This is a flatworm. Flatworms, like nudibranchs, are also both male and female and blind.
So, supposedly, what I was seeing was that a lot of worms are hermaphroditic, and this is a very interesting example of one kind of hermaphroditic aquatic worm. So,
their way by smell. But that is where the similarity ends. This one, called the Persian carpet flatworm because of the elaborate patterning, is a voracious predator.
Wait, do I have to censor this, or is this fine because it's not a human? Do I censor this? I don't think you have to...
And when it comes to mating, it's also somewhat aggressive. It has sensed the presence of another flatworm.
Wait, are people getting ads?
A potential partner. To start with, they seem wary of one another.
Wait, should I censor this?
And with good reason. Each of them is trying to avoid the labor of looking after the fertilized eggs. It's better not to become pregnant.
Yeah, this is an example of...
Rearing up, each reveals...
So, throughout a lot of... I'm just going to say this really quickly. It's usually viewed as disadvantageous to become pregnant. I know that's crazy. It's literally like having a parasite inside of you. But generally, if you look throughout like the animal kingdom, it's disadvantageous to Why did I pause right there? I can get a good look. Get a good look, buddy. You'll see a lot more action in a second here. But what I wanted to say was, I am so sorry. A lot of creatures don't like getting pregnant, and if they do get pregnant, it has to be under very specific prerequisites, because for the individual creature, becoming pregnant means you have less mobility, you have less access to food, you can't take care of yourself as well as you would otherwise, and you are more likely to get killed. So, for these flatworms, because it is so disadvantageous to become pregnant, they spar, and the loser has to get pregnant.
Its two-pronged penis. And now, they fence. Each tries to stab and inseminate the other without being stabbed first.
Go get him! Guys, left or right? Guys, can we have
A
bets?
strike anywhere on the body will fertilize.
Can we cast bets? Left worm or right worm? Wait, no, you can go watch the video. Never, unless, don't watch the video. Be nice, Make honest bets, guys. Left or right worm? What if they stab at the same time? I guess they both get pregnant. Far too lazy to go find the video. Thank God. I'll be able to tell if it's bad if you guys all bet on the same worm. I feel like betting on this violates laws, but whatever. I don't think it violates, like, actual laws. Again, it's not using real money, so it's fine. How do we know who is who? Let me rewind. So here they're kind of like... Now there's left worm, right worm. Hold up. Let me watch again.
A strike anywhere on the body.
Yeah, there's a
will
left
fertilize.
side. There's a worm on the left, worm on the right. Yeah, worm on the left, worm on the right. Left or right worm will win. One of them. One of them. A top worm and a bottom worm. Man. Reproduction in the animal kingdom is so interesting. This is why it's called... I don't think that's why. All in on right? Baji, how do you know this stuff? Yes. I have a background in biology. But it's just... It's very interesting. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Anyways. Let's see who wins the penis vent. I am going to bet on the left worm because he looks a little bit advantageous in the... Oh, Rick, oh wow, new to the stream. I sure hope nothing's changed. No! I'm a singing VTuber, by the way. I'm a V-singer. I don't know what you're talking about. I am a wholesome anime girl on the internet that sings requested karaoke songs. I don't know what you're talking about. Alright, let's press play and see if left worm wins. Okay. Okay. Okay, you just have to go down. No! No, no, no! You're literally on top of him! No! Don't you dare! You're literally just on top of him. What is wrong with you? Go! Yes! Yes! No! No! What is wrong with them? They're so close! What is wrong with them? No. Yes? Yes! Left worm, yes!
A successful strike, and sperm is injected into the rival.
Yes! Yes!
The duel is over. The impregnated flatworm is left with a scar and the labor of laying the eggs.
Yeah, you slink down to the ground. Loser! Carry those babies!
Its only solace, its young will carry the genes of a master swordsman.
Yeah. Are they just...
Young will carry the genes of a master
Which one's
swordsman.
swimming off? The one that got impregnated or the... Is he just leaving her? I mean, they're hermaphroditic. They're hermaphroditic. So... Anyways, waiting for full child support. I'm so glad that left won. I was betting on left. I'm so glad that left won. So happy that someone's fair got someone else. Well, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. Honestly, if it was up to me, this is how humans would reproduce. I think having a choice, if you... Well, not really a choice, but imagine, like, your whole life... hear me out, hear me out. I've met so many women that are like, I hate being born a woman. I don't want to carry a baby. That looks terrifying. But hear me out. We spend our whole life training to be incredibly good swordsmen, right? And at the peak of our reproductive stage, we sword fight the other person to determine who has to carry the baby. Thoughts? I think that would solve so many issues if somebody was like, I don't want to carry babies. I don't want to have a period. You could be like, well, you lost the swords fight. You didn't train hard enough. It sounds like an anime plot. Yeah. She's not reading that. She's not reading that. Competitive / ranked. Exactly, dude. If it was ranked, can you imagine, like... That would be crazy. Also, you'd, like, only have kids that have incredibly, like, good swords fighting genetics, right? No? You'd have like an entire lineage. Like you would end up one day just getting to a level of swords fighting that is so elite. While you were with your friends, I was studying the blade. Exactly! Is it skill-based matchmaking? I figure there'd probably be different elos. No? I think about this a lot. Yeah, left one.
Wanna do a sword fight and decide it now, Baji?
No, I don't. Stop taking away my joy. I'm having so much joy right now when you were trying to seep it away from me like the leech you are.
I wouldn't say that.
Just whatever. Have a good day. Have a good day, 7. Joke's on you, Baji. Men sword fight in every public bathroom, but it doesn't end in pregnancy, and it should! Anyways, moving on. I just think it would be so much more fun, speaking from like a biological standpoint, if all of us just had like... Because it is not biologically advantageous to carry a child. Like, nobody thinks it's biologically advantageous. I see like people get slammed for having kids all the time. I think especially women, like when they have kids. Actually, how long are cats pregnant for? I just know that they have a lot of kids. "65 days. Wow. They're pregnant for 65 days? What the heck? Oh, cat expired? Okay, thank God. Is this a low redeem? Okay.
Would I still love you if you were a worm? Yes. I'd put you in a big terrarium and take care of you. Feed you lots of water and scraps for years and years. And when you inevitably die before me, I'll bury you in the dirt you lived in your whole life. And I'll cry. And cry. Until whatever turned you into a worm turns you into something else. And then I'll love that too. I'll know when it happens, because I just love you that much. If I was a worm, I'd stab you. Want to do a sword fight and decide it now?
Nado, I'm gonna kill you. Nado, I'm going to kill you.